What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So we have some rumors swirling, and apparently this came from a television network source, which makes it that much sweeter. The New York Jets 2023 NFL season is expected to drop in May 11th, but according to these sources, the beginning of our season is going to be a primetime game, which, as expected, we figure to be in the loop on as many of these as we can get is going to be against the New York Giants, according to the source, to kick things off. Technically, it's an away game for the New York Jets, but Aaron Rodgers gets to start his New York Jets career under the limelight in the Snoopy Bowl, hopefully getting us a dub against our New York counterparts, especially considering people thought Brian, and maybe it's not necessarily so much of a thought, it's proven. He got his team into the playoffs. Brian Daboll has his team ahead of the bell curve when it came to comparing them to the New York Jets. So this will be interesting to see, right? Do we gel and get off to a quick start, or do we have some early season concerns that would cause the New York Jets to panic, right? I think a lot of us in our head are automatically entering a 17-0 season. And yes, I understand we play the Chiefs, the Eagles, some other great teams in there, but still, we're riding high behind the arm of Aaron Rodgers and all of the great things that we've been hearing coming out of camp, how the players are responding to him. Some of the other things we're hearing about his emotional state. But I'm super excited. It's still a little bit surreal to see Aaron Rodgers in a New York Jets uniform for one, but for two, for us to go out there and it's effectively a home game, even though it's an away game. That stadium is going to be absolutely crazy. These are the times that I definitely wish I was still home. I can go out there to MetLife, be a part of that fantastic crowd and kind of what's going to go on there. But I think what Peter King mentioned before is definitely going to end up coming to fruition, where I want to say the maximum amount of primetime games we can get was five. But there's a bunch of other ways that the networks can, and I forget the terminology for it, but basically they can change how like the game is slated or like the time slot, different things like that in order to effectively still make it like a prime time viewed game. So I am amped. Definitely plan on getting some kind of package for me to check out all of the games, but the New York Giants will be a fun matchup. We get to see Daniel Jones coming out on that new $40 million contract. We'll see ultimately what happens with Saquon Barkley. The Giants, and I don't remember the moves that they made, but let me just check out who they added via the draft again. And we'll be curious. I want to say they added some weapons. I don't think they did anything to necessarily hugely move the needle. They got a really good cornerback in Deontay Banks. We'll have the center comparisons. We decided we wanted the more athletic Joe Tippmann at center. The Giants went out and got themselves John Michael Schmitz. They went out and got themselves a speedy wide receiver in Jalen Hyatt, a weapon in Eric Gray, who I believe is a running back. They get themselves Trey Hawkins the third, Jordan Riley, and Javarius Owens. So they go out and they address some pretty core needs for them. Even though they reached the playoffs last season, they were a team that somehow overachieved. So it just kind of exemplified the genius that Brian Daboll has, the coaching staff he was able to put together, and revitalizing Daniel Jones' career, which he was on the brink of being in that Sam Darnold mode of conversation, of guys that just didn't live up to the round one billing. But he goes out there. Not only do they make the playoffs, they're able to go out there and win themselves a game. So even though they aren't at the top tier of the NFL world, we are talking about a team recently coming out the playoffs. They're adding some more pieces. They're getting some players, another year in Brian Daboll's system. And so you look at a really strong matchup, and even though there's not necessarily a lot of bad blood or anything like that, this still is a long-lived rivalry in New York between these two teams. So I will be very, very excited to see what happens. I also believe when I dropped my video for some early predictions, although it's kind of been proven already for joint practices, I think we actually see them for that as well. So all of that will be some interesting storylines leading up. We'll see if Hard Knocks and all that kind of stuff ties into it as well. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. New York Jets, first game of the season. Seems like it's going to be prime time. Super hyped for it. I'll catch you guys again. Peace.